The Harlan Ellison story. My Harlan Ellison story is that I don't have a Harlan Ellison story. I'll explain. Harlan was an author that growing up I was aware of him more than I read his books. I'd only ever read a handful of his short stories. The first one I remember reading was one from, I think, a best of analog called The Human Operators that he wrote in collaboration with A.E. Van Vogt. But I don't think it was until I was in my late teens and saw A Boy and His Dog that the thought really clicked in my head, like, oh, that's Harlan Ellison. A Boy and His Dog is like the yang to 2001: A Space Odyssey's yin. Just that you could do really hard sci-fi on a tiny budget. But I felt a connection to him when I was writing my book. In that in between bouts of writing, I was often going on YouTube and looking up old interviews with him, or newer interviews with him, or watching his clips from Harlan Ellison's Watching. And I felt I identified with him somewhat. Not as a writer, but just as a person. The kind of curmudgeon he was, the kind of uncompromising, difficult person he was. To the point that when I picked up Dreams with Sharp Teeth, a humble little biography that was done of him for when he won a Lifetime Achievement Award for writing, I found myself moved to tears at several points in that documentary listening to him. You know, he talks in the documentary about, being bullied to the point that when you get older, it makes you mean. And I definitely understood what he was talking about. And how the cure for it is either you do something creative, you do something with your brain, or you feed the anger and become a serial killer and whatever. Just really got to me, really spoke to me. And I made myself a promise that when I finished editing my book, was going to publish it, that I would send him a copy. Not because I had any expectation that he would read it, or some fantasy that he would read it and send me compliments. It wasn't anything like that. It was just the sense in knowing that somewhere outside in the foothills of California that my book was sitting on a shelf in his house somewhere. Just the thought of that made me really happy. So I had planned to publish my book on my birthday, which was June 28th of the year 2018. And I awoke early that morning and got on the computer and started checking out the news and read his obituary, that he had in fact died early in the morning of June 28th. And it was devastating. I thought all kinds of things. I felt like God was having a little joke on me. I felt like the universe was saying, fuck you. And it tripped off a deep depression for me. I couldn't help feeling that sometimes life lets you know whether you're on the right track or not, and I felt that this was a sign that I was not on the right track, that it was too little too late, that my effort had amounted to nothing, that this was a book no one was ever going to read and I was wasting my time. And it haunted me for quite a while afterwards. That is, at least until I imagined what Harlan would have said to me about this situation, which I think would be something like, "Next time mail it to someone who's alive, dummy." That's my Harlan Ellison story.